epic viewers from around the world. Crap. Hello, epic viewers from around the multiverse. Prepare to bask in unprecedented glory, because today I'm going to be reviewing my action figure collection that's archived on my Instagram photos. Unfortunately, to my dismay, I didn't upload enough photos of my action figure collection to Instagram. I always found the process to be a pain in the shell. It took ample time, my phone is antiquated, it comes from a time of antiquity, and it doesn't perform the uploading process seamlessly. Furthermore, Comcast throttles the internet connection, so that also creates an impediment and another hindrance. Nonetheless, I still uploaded some photos. These photos are meritorious from my perspective. Of course, I have predilection for action figures. I love them. It's my vice. And these photos were not taken properly. In hindsight, I should have taken them vertically. So I apologize about the formatting being off-putting. They just need to be rotated 90 degrees. That would remedy everything, but I just don't have the patience to rotate anything now. It's too much of a time sink. So, in regards to my collection, I had to dismantle it, unfortunately, due to space issues. I loved my Marvel Select figures and my shelves. They contain an assortment of figures from various lines. I had figures from pretty much every major line you can conceive of, which range anywhere from 5 to 7 inches tall. I had Marvel Select figures, NECA figures, Toy Biz Marvel Legends figures, Transformers, Armada figures, Alien figures, Predator figures, Halo Joyride figures, McFarlane Toys, Halo figures, TMNT figures, Yu-Gi-Oh figures. I also had statues. I had a statue of the Dark Magician. I had a statue of Anbu Kakashi. Got that on eBay. As well as the Dark Magician statue I got on Amazon. I neglected to mention I had DC UC figures, or DC Universe Classics figures, displayed, which were sculpted by the Four Horsemen Studios Corporation. I also had Family Guy figures and South Park figures. I don't know if I have any photos of the South Park figures. They arrived scuffed and marred with some dinks, dents, scratches. I was dismayed by that and truly appalled. Some of my shelves were themed, but most of them were not. I did have a copious amount of Clone Troopers, but I'm really deterred from getting 3.75 inch or 4 inch figures. It's just not my cup of tea. I think that they're shoddy relative to 6 or 7 inch figures, and a 7 inch body provides a greater canvas for artistry, deco, and it allows you to create a more robust, higher quality design, sculpt, and have more textures and shadings relative to a blank 3.75 inch mold. I had the Tink statue from Left 4 Dead. I also had the Skylanders, Amiibos. I have a bunch of Lord of the Rings statues that my sister decimated in her ire and rage. She threw my statue boxes on the floor as hard as she could because she was angry that my mom packed away her utensils, and she took it out on my collectibles. Can't control other people aggress against you or your property, unfortunately. It's completely sadistic, but it is what it is. You know, her 10 seconds of unbridled fury of unwarranted fury because my mom packed away her spoon resulted in my statues and action figures getting decimated and ravaged, and I probably lost over $3,000 worth of collectibles in that 10 seconds. And I also took pictures of my food. My bowls are 4-quart or 1-gallon bowls, and I fill them with hearts of palm, olives, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, tomatoes, grapefruit, oranges, avocados, and other salubrious, beneficial, nutrient-dense foods. This video's primary focus is to reflect on my action figure collection and showcase what I posted on Instagram. It's too bad that I was encumbered in that room. Or else I would have loved to post more photos. I had layers of shelves, rows of shelves. The shelves were so deep and so far back, meaning there were 5 rows of shelves lined up next to one another, and another 5 rows of shelves parallel to that I couldn't even reach in the back once an action figure fell and caused a cascade effect, which culminated in a ton of action figures being knocked down. So that's the problem with having a small space. If your action figures fall, you can't reach to reposition them and to get them standing, because you're impeded by shelves, and the front row shelves block off the shelves in the back row. I had a bunch of Lord of the Rings figures, Spawn figures, Dragon Ball Z figures, Naruto figures, even Dollar Store ninjas. I have some Sentinels. Now they're relegated to a storage unit. I also had the Wizard of Oz figures. Tried to haggle down every price. As much as I could, I had Exodia Necros, both Shinrons, the red one from GT, the Black Star Dragon. I also had the green Shinron. And then I also have, I think, Barunga, the Namekian Dragon. He's in the box. I have Lord Slug. I believe I still have most of these figures that you see. I also had a bunch of Bruce. I love to army build, if you couldn't tell. That's probably my favorite facet of collecting, being able to army build action figures. I also had some Mario figures, Toad, Mario. I recently got Bowser. I have Power Rangers figures out of the Legacy collection. I have a bunch of the 5-inch figures as well. I pretty much have action figures from every major line you could think of. I don't have any of the official, authentic SH Figuarts action figures. The Chinese versions will suffice, but I can't vindicate paying over $50 for those figures. I don't have any of the Mezco 112's collectible Klaus figures. I do have some Mezco Mortal Kombat figures, but I got the ones that were $8 or $10 plus tax when they first came out, and not the $80 ones. I wouldn't concede paying that price unless it was a deluxe figure that was something like a Toy Biz Galactus or Toy Biz Sentinel or something along those lines. But if a figure is scarce and rare, I just can't vindicate paying over $50 for it. I can't afford it, and even if I could, I wouldn't. Like, I want the Dark Magician Girl, the 5-inch version from Mattel, but I think I have the 2-inch version. I just can't justify paying that hefty price tag. I love my displays. I also had the Killer Clowns from Outer Space, turned out by Soda Toys. I had the Street Fighter figures by Soda Toys, the Tron figures, the early 2000s was the golden age of action figure collecting. Figures were $8 plus tax. They came bundled with a comic book. They had 32 to 40 points of articulation. They had high quality sculpts, details, hues, shadings, textures, decos. They came with high quality accessories. They came with Build-A-Figure piece for a robust, stellar, intricately detailed 14 to 16 inch Build-A-Figure. Today you pay $20 for a mediocre, lackluster, shouldn't say shoddy, abysmal figure. You get a hollow Build-A-Figure piece for a normal sized figure, which is deemed a Build-A-Figure. If that, there's no comic book. The articulation is 20 points, is scant relative to what it otherwise could be. If they actually weren't so stingy and cut costs at the customer's expense. Today is about profit maximization and not about delivering unprecedented, ineffable value. It used to be about giving customers unprecedented value for their money. I also have the Evolve figures, or the greatest bang for their buck. Today's about nickel and diamond the customers and giving little to no value in return. In other words, back then you paid less for significantly more, relative to today where you pay significantly more for significantly less. That's an inverse relationship. Today you pay more and you're getting less in return. It should be the other way around. It should be where you pay more, you get more in return. They should rise together, and the price should be commensurate with the value you receive. Action figures back then were undervalued. Today they're overvalued. So it is what it is. But maybe the industry will make a comeback if 3D printers become mainstream. I don't know, and then people could print out their own army builder figures. But today you have to consider paying exorbitant prices via eBay to get any action figures of real merit, and they're no longer $8 plus tax. You're going to be paying through the roof. But even if you're paying $20 for a figure that used to retail for $8 new, and you're buying that figure used for over $20, at least you know that you're getting a high quality, robust figure that was undervalued back then, and that warrants a higher price tag. So I'd be content with paying well over $20 for most of the figures from the early 2000s, such as Army Builder, Lord of the Rings figures, and Toby's Marvel Legends figures, and Soda Street Fighter figures, and Halo figures, churned out by Joyride Studios, who became defunct. Toy Biz became defunct. Another wonderful action figure companies such as Soda Toys also became defunct. It sucks, but it is what it is. I hope that you found this video to be intriguing and fascinating, as well as enthralling and insightful. Curious about your sentiments appertaining to the action figure industry. If you grew up with it in the early 2000s, and you could resonate with me and understand my perspective. If you didn't, then you truly missed out on the golden age of action figure collecting. And this is why it would have been preferable if I was born in the 1970s or 80s, because I would have had the money back then too. I bought all the wonderful figures back then. But if you want the figures of the past, you have to consider paying enormous premiums today to get them used, marred, scratched, and scuffed. I hope that you found this video to be engrossing. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye. Viewers, let's redo this. Hello, epic viewers from around the multiverse. We're here to bask in unprecedented glory because today I'm going to be revealing photos of my vegan meals on Instagram. Unfortunately, to my dismay, uploading photos to Instagram is a pain in the shell, and I apologize that the formatting may be off-putting, unsavory, or distorted. It may not truly be palatable, but it is what it is. So let's move on. I take pictures of my meals and occasionally I upload them to Instagram. My meals are homogeneous to one another. They're chock full of fruits and vegetables that are inundated with antioxidants, phytonutrients, macronutrients, micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, plant-based enzymes, fiber, and other salubrious compounds such as flavonoids, carotenoids. I do submerge my meals in water to retard oxidation, and that helps minimize free radical damage. You don't want your foods to oxidize and succumb to free radical damage, and you don't want your food bowls to be a bastion or a place that harbors bacteria. Your vessel needs 6 pounds of microbacteria to survive, prosper, and flourish, but you don't need excess bacteria, to say the least. You don't want your food to become tainted and slowly then marred. And I took these photos before my food was blighted. I was asinine enough to be sitting out for hours on end, just because I was barred from utilizing the kitchen most of the day, most of the time. But that's a story for another day. My foods were caked in ginger, black pepper, and other spices such as turmeric. And if you add black pepper to turmeric, you increase the bioavailability of turmeric by at least 2,000%. I also had beets, okra, zucchini, tomatoes, avocados, coconut shreds, raspberries, blueberries. Oh, there's a picture of an action figure. That's Swamp Thing. It arrived with an arm severed. I may have to get a new one in the pending future. Can't afford it now. These meals are wonderful, and I always eat in a specific order to minimize digestive distress. You start with acidic fruits, then you go to the subacidic fruits, and you go to the sweet fruits and the plant-dense proteins, or I should say the protein-dense vegetables, and the carbohydrate-dense vegetables, and then the fat-dense fruits. No oils. And I would never cook anything. I wouldn't want to eradicate the enzymes. You don't want it to be more restrained on your vessel to break down and assimilate the foods. Oh yeah, I neglected to mention that I would also eat grapes, pineapples, mangoes. My interests were always eclectic, and all these foods were palatable, to say the least. I love scrumptious, succulent, zesty, tangy, piquant, savory, nutrient-dense, flavorful foods. I pretty much love whole fruits and vegetables. I can't really think of one that I dislike. I had mangoes. My favorite vegetable is marsupial. My favorite fruit is the blood orange. So that about wraps it up, and this is a good picture to end the video with. You know, these meals were unscathed until I started penetrating my teeth through the fruits and flexurizing the fruits and vegetables. But as you can see, you get a vast variety of fruits and vegetables in these bowls. They're filled to the brim. Today I eat the same amount of food, but I don't fill my bowls to the brim because I now have access to refrigerator and freezer 24/7, and I don't want my foods to oxidize, nor do I want to change the pH levels of the water. So I keep my water in a separate bowl. This is nearly depleted at this juncture. However, I will drink some distilled water and rehydrate my dehydrated meso. And fruits and vegetables are 9 to 10 times more hydrated than distilled water because they contain water in its most perfect form that your vessel knows how to assimilate flawlessly. So I hope that you found this video to be intriguing and insightful. Instagram is a great place to archive videos and photos. However, it's a pain in the show to upload them, but if you have the self-discipline and you want to reflect back on something in the future, then take your photos and post them via Instagram, and you hopefully won't regret the time expenditure, because you're creating an archive and you could garner a following and build traction on Instagram, and hopefully generate enough of a reputation and following so that you can sell product placements and utilize your Instagram page as a marketing medium to recommend products and generate traffic on your personal website. So I hope that you found this video to be insightful and bedazzling. Have a glorious day. May be blessed in perpetuity. Goodbye.